And yeah, just, I don't know what it is about falling back in time, but it just throws my head in a tizzy. Like it just never seems to be, something just seems to be off, right? And all day, just, yeah, and all day yesterday, of course. So anyhow, I'm so glad you're here. And if you are watching live or watching replay, doesn't matter. Um, you can leave any comments you have right here. You can ask any questions you like, make any suggestions. I'm so happy that you voted, that you took the time to vote. And as I mentioned in the event, it was actually pretty close. All right, C didn't get any votes, which kind of doesn't surprise me, but between A, B, and D, it was, yeah, it was fairly close. So I will be doing D this evening, which is the red Merry Christmas with the gold. And I hope that you enjoy, and I hope that you give the techniques a try because it's a lot of fun. So also, if you're watching live or on replay, let me know you're there, and let us know where you're watching from. And I'm just about to get started. I'm going to switch over to my other camera. I did want to let you know, though, that I am recording this. I want to be able to post it onto YouTube so that a few people that are not on Facebook can watch it as well. So it is recording. Okay, so I'm just going to switch my camera over. Now, by the time I do that, I always hit the wrong button first. Okay. Oops. Caught on something. All right, just checking my microphone, testing. Okay, good. All right. So if you checked in the event, you will have seen the list of supplies to create the card as it was pictured. Okay, just setting myself up here. Now, that does not mean that you have to do it as pictured. You can choose to use any color combinations you like. You can use any sentiment that you like, doesn't really matter. Sorry, I'm just, I can't do two things at once here. Okay, there we go. Okay, hi Linda. All right, so my phone is working. Excellent. Okay, so one thing that I did want to say before I start is that I think I'm not going to put the green border around this time. I'm just going to put it right onto the card front because I think it might also look nice with the white background. So just going to try it out and see what happens. Okay, so I am using a piece of candy apple red on the light side, and I smeared it somehow, but that doesn't matter. We're covering it up with ink. I am going to come in just a little closer. And I am using 3 stars from, not this set. Okay, just added here. There we go. This is not the one. Where did I put it? Let me just show you. Okay, so I'm using the stars from this set. It's the Jingle Joy scrapbooking, and so I'm using this star here, and this star, and this star. So it doesn't really matter what stars you use, or you could even use snowflakes if you wanted, or Christmas trees, whatever you like. It doesn't really matter. Okay, and then I'm also using this Merry Christmas thin cut. This is retired and no longer available, but there is like a myriad of thin cuts that you could use for this. And I did do my pre-cutting just because I didn't want to waste your time with that. So I've got that all ready over here, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And first off, we're going to start by creating all of the stars that are along the bottom of the card. So I'm going to be using my Versamark ink, which I have right here. And I'm going to be using my my 3 stars. Now, the thing to remember about Versamark ink is that you have quite a bit of time. So first of all, now I know I'm not stamping the whole thing. I just want to be extra careful that I don't get a lot of gold embossing powder all over the place. So I'm just making sure that I've got it nicely covered. And I'm going to be only working up to about there. So maybe 1.5 inches. And there is no rhyme or reason to how this is going to work. I am going to use all 3 of the stamps at one time rather than going through and stamping all of one, followed by the next one and then the next one, because I just want to make sure that I'm getting a nice variety. So I'm just going to start going across here. Okay, and how close together you want them is entirely up to you. As I said, there really is no rhyme or reason for this. It's just whatever you like. Very close there. And then I'm also one just hanging off the edge there. I know it's not easy to see the Versamark ink. But it's there. All right. So you could go part way across, stop and put your powder on and do your embossing if you wanted. But I'm not worried about the ink drying too terribly quickly. And I can see where I'm stamping quite easily here. I know you can't see it as easily, but I can see it quite well. So I'm just going to keep going until I get all the way across. I'm just going to run off the edge a bit. Another one up there. Now, when Chelsea did this, she actually used 4 stars. She took one from another set, but I was pretty happy with just 3. So I'll let you be the judge of that, how many you want to use. I would not use any less than 3 though. You just want a nice variety of shapes and sizes. And we're almost at the end here. These up here. Here. I'm going to put another one here. Okay, I'm good with that. All right, so bring in the gold embossing powder. All to the end. Just going to go over, make sure I've got good coverage on all of them. Hopefully I won't make too much of a mess. My goodness, you should have seen my table after Friday night's Stash Busters. I'm just not very good with glitter. Yeah, we just don't really get along all that well. So, oh my gosh, it was quite the mess. All right, so I am ready to heat. So I'm just going to let my my heat tool warm up a little bit. Then we'll let it have it. And you know, it doesn't matter how many times I do this, I never get tired of watching the magic happen. Are you like that? It's just always like, oh, it's so beautiful. I just never get tired of it. Try and keep this outside so you can watch the magic happen. We're getting there. This really is a nice assortment of stars. Oops, going to turn it around to burn myself. Those. Oh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. When you think about it, it's just plastic melting. Why we get so excited about it, but we do. Okay, so now that I can see more clearly, I can see that I need to put just a couple more little ones down here. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that before we get started on the next step. Okay, I'm going to set those up quickly. Won't take long now that the heat tool is all warmed up. All right. Excellent. So we are done with our Versamark ink. I'm just going to set these to the side. One thing I did do for Stash Busters is I went and bought coffee filters today. So I'm hoping that'll help with my messiness. Okay, so now we are going to bring out the two Distress Oxide inks that we're using for this project, the Candied Apple and the Vintage Photo. And I have my mini blending tool, one for each of them. We're going to start with the Candied Apple. I also want a Post-it note. I think I got them over here. Close. Close, but no cigar. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to go over this entire surface with the Candy Apple Distress Oxide ink. Now, don't forget, we're using the light side of the cardstock. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start on the star edge. We're going to work our way over this way, and then we're going to leave just the edge here, maybe half, 3/4 of an inch without ink, but we're going to blend across with the ink that we've already laid down here. Okay, so I'm just going to get started here. Now, how dark you want this is entirely up to you. Okay, I did refresh my Candied Apple before I started so that it would be nice and juicy. Looking good. Okay, so now I'm not going to add any more right now. What I'm going to do, grab my Post-it note to hold this so I don't smudge everything. Okay, whoops, down here will work. And now I'm just going to work this across. And I'm just gradually working this up. I'm not adding any new ink. I'm just taking what's here and working it up to the top edge here. Now, the thing about Distress Oxide ink is that as it's drying, it tends to blend in even more nicely. So if you can possibly imagine that. So I'm going to just give this a quick. Okay, and now I'm going to move on to my Vintage Photo. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing, except this time I'm not going as far. This time I'm only going to go up about an inch, maybe an inch and a quarter, so that I'm just up to the edge of where the stars end. And I'm definitely using my paper to hold on to my cardstock. It takes quite a while for the Distress Oxide inks to dry. And it's very easy to leave a great big thumbprint or to transfer the color onto something else. Okay, so I'll just let you have a quick look at that. Now, if you want, you can make this a little heavier. If you are going to put a second coat on, then I would say you should probably go back and add a little bit of red coming back in this way, just so you don't have a really heavy line. It's more of a blended line. Okay, I'm gonna use this time, I think. Okay, now I'm going to, I don't do this very often. I usually use my microfiber cloth, but I'm going to break my own rule for this because I want a smaller fabric here. Like the microfiber cloth is very chunky, and so it's hard to control where you are using it. But I just want to go over each of my stars now. I'm just going to wipe off the red and the brown Distress Oxide ink that has collected there. So you can see the difference. It's just really, the gold just pops right out after you do this. Almost there. Ever so pretty. All right, that is done. So pretty. I love it. Just sparkly. Okay, so now this is something quite interesting that I learned. So you can use your stickles for splattering. All right, I'm just going to put a little puddle here on my craft mat. Now, if you're using a regular brush, you would want to have your spray bottle of water handy, but I'm using a water brush, so I can just add my water from there. Just going to add a bit in. Hi, Carolyn. Okay, and I'm just mixing it up, and you want it to be fairly watery so that you can splatter it, of course. Okay. So I get it all mixed up really well. So when I start to splatter, it's not just water drops, it's going to actually have some glitter in it. Just making sure I've got it well stirred here. Okay. Now I just wanted to point out on my original card that I wasn't happy with the amount of splatter that I did. It wasn't nearly enough. So I took some of our Bitty Sparkles and I colored them red and I added them in. So we'll see if I can do a little bit better job with my splattering tonight. Yeah, I think I've got a better consistency here tonight. Whoops, that's way too much, but that's the way she rolls, right? And so when the water dries, you end up with your glitter left. That's all, just your glitter. Oh yeah, these are nice. Okay, I like this, except for that one little spot there that, oops, that I did. That's too big, but gotta take the good with the bad, or the bad with the good. Okay, just a little more there, a little more here. Okay, so except for that one spot there, this is much nicer. I think I still need a little more there. Yep. Oh yeah. Okay, I like it. All right, so now I'm going to bring back my microfiber cloth. I'm going to clean my water brush off right away. Or I will have glitter on everything that I paint. Okay, so put that away. Okay, and I'm going to use this cloth since it's going away anyways. Okay, now while we let that dry, I'm just going to set that over there. I'm going to bring in our letters. Okay, now if you notice on the original card, the lettering stands up quite a bit off of the surface of the card. Okay, but I did not use foam dots or foam tape. This is much too thin a lettering to do that. So instead of using foam, I stacked 3 black ones on top of my gold one. So I've gone ahead and I've done all of my thin cuts here. Okay, I've got my 3 black ones, and I'm going to go ahead and start gluing these together. Okay, I took all of the little dauby things out. Okay, and I'm just going to start with one, and I'm going to add my glue. Hopefully he's going to work tonight. There we go. Now I tried using my quickie pen on this, and it didn't hold very well. So I would say stick with your white glue for this. Okay, and then I'm just going to stack this right on top. And now how I'm doing this, I'm just starting in one spot right here. Okay, and I'm not pushing that down yet. And I'm grabbing my tweezers, and I'm just going to push a bit more so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, I'm just pushing my tweezers on the outside edge of both layers to make sure they're completely lined up, and then I'm pushing it down. Oops, and I'm also sticking myself to the end. So if you just do this around the outside as you're pushing down to attach them together, you'll make sure always that you've got them well lined up. And then you won't have too much glue all over the place. Okay, and now I'm just going to come back over here and do the same thing. Now, there is another option. Rather than doing stacked cardstock, you can also use Fun Foam. And fortunately, Fun Foam works very well with all of our die cuts and in every machine that I've ever used. I've used a Cuttlebug with it, I've used a Big Shot and the Vagabond. All right, and the Fun Foam works very well. Okay, now I'm going to just repeat that. Staying in the camera. Now, the other thing I wanted to point out to you is that I'm using black just to make a very nice contrast. And I'm using the new black cardstock that has no white core, so that when we stack the top layer, which is the gold glitter, that you're just going to have a very nice black shadow all the way around the outside edge of your lettering. So you see how that just lines it up so perfectly. And then you can just press it down, let the glue do its job. Right, that one's done. Now the last layer. Notice that I'm not covering the entire surface with glue. I'm just dotting it on. And that way we don't have a huge amount of glue that is oozing out of the sides. Where's my tweezers? So I'm just going to go over this one last time. Now, the one unfortunate thing about live television, if you want to call it that, or live videos, is that I can't speed it up while I'm doing this. So, but what I am going to do is I'm going to finish this M, and then I'm going to move on. I'm not going to do all of the letters because I know that that is just going to be very painstaking for you to sit and watch. But I'm almost done here. And once I've got this M done, oh, I got a little bit of black showing up here. I think we're good to go. Right there. So you can see how you have a very nice black border all around the outside edge of this. And that's what you see on the card as well. And so with no white core, it's just plain black. There's nothing else. Okay, so I'm going to leave the rest of the lettering for off camera. And what I want to do now is to move on to our card base. Now this, of course, is totally optional, but I really enjoy doing this extra step that Chelsea did with hers. I'm just going to move this camera back out a bit. Okay, she used the same stars, stamping with the Candy Apple Distress Oxide ink. And then I added the Christmas red stickles into the center of the larger stars. Okay, so that is very, very straightforward. I'm just going to fold my card first. Give a little bit of burnish here. Bring back my candied apple. And my 3 stamps. Okay. Now again, this is random. It does not have to match the front. And if you want, but it doesn't have to. So this time I'm just going to go through with the one stamp first. Right there. Perfect. And I'm going to add the next one. Oh, I've got some ink on my finger. Okay, now, but where's my, sorry about the arm. How many of you have ever used these? If you do it right away, and if you're on a light colored cardstock, don't let it dry. You can usually at least diminish it if you can't make it go completely away. These are sound erasers. They come in a pack of 2. And I don't know what I'd do without mine. I don't know about you, but oh my gosh, like I'm an accident waiting to happen most days. So I need all the help I can get. Just going to be very random here. Put one more there. I like that. And then I'm going to use the last star size. This is so pretty. Where do I want this? Right here, I think. Okay, I'm liking this. I'm liking this a lot. All right, so what I'm going to do is just hit this with a bit of heat, just because it takes so long to dry. And then I'm going to add the front of the card on. Don't want to put the stickles on until everything is done into the center of the stars. Let's hope that was enough. Okay, and this looks nice and dry. So I'm just going to use a bit of my regular adhesive. Okay, now this is more adhesive than I would normally use, but because we process the paper somewhat with the Distress Oxide inks, okay, I just want to give it a little bit of extra. And then making sure you've got your card going the right way, because speaking from experience, probably about 30% of the time when I check, I have the card going the wrong way. So I'm just going to lower that down. Oh yeah. Okay, and I'm not being very aggressive here. I don't want to smudge anything. Okay, and you can see how the paper, the red paper, waffled just a bit, and so that made my card waffle a bit. So I'm just going to just maneuver this around a little bit, straighten it out a bit. Okay, and then the last thing I want to share with you before I go off camera and finish assembling the letters is that this word Merry Christmas is very big, and you need the entire width of the card to make it fit. And I will show you what I mean. So I started right at the very edge on the left side with the M. And then I went over here and I started on the right edge with the AS, because it's in pieces. And then I just worked in from there. All right, and I still ended up, I had to put the Chris part down at an angle a little bit, just because it was going to run into the Mary. So it's quite large. So if you have a smaller one, a slightly smaller one, then that would be optimal. But I love this one anyways. It's very beautiful. All right, so that is it. I am going to finish doing this lettering, and then I'm going to stickles the inside of my stars. I am going to put a sentiment on here. I'm not sure what I'm going to use yet, but I'm sure it will be Christmas related somehow. I hope you give these techniques a try, because they are a lot of fun. And if you do create one of these cards or any other card, doesn't matter. Thanks, Linda. We would love to see it. Please post it in the comments, and then we can all ooh and ah over it. All right, that is it for this evening. I hope you'll join me again next Monday. I haven't quite decided what we're going to be doing yet, but I know whatever it is, you're going to enjoy the techniques. Thanks so much for joining in, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll be talking to you soon.